Hey guys, I'm Jason Scherer and we're here in Johnson Valley. I'm a 3-time King of the Hammers winner and this is where we race this incredible race. I'm here to show you guys all about this race car, everything that makes it so special and all the great attributes that make this place incredible. You know, a lot of people don't know exactly what King of the Hammers is and what the challenge is that makes it so difficult, but you know, they've been racing in Baja for over 50 years. They've been running the Rubicon Trail for 60 years. These trails where you go conquer the rocks and everything are out there all over the country. King of the Hammers and the Ultra 4 Series, they combine those two worlds. So we have to actually go 120 miles an hour across the desert through the whoops, and then we have to go into low range and conquer boulder fields and trails that are so challenging. They make like the Erzberg Rodeo look like something that you could just walk through in one of these things. So all the differences of these like really difficult trails and then going back to the desert, and we'll do them like 30 times in a day. We'll run 15 rock trails, 2 laps, and they're all connected by miles of desert. So it's this sprint through the desert and make it through the rocks, and it's fast and slow, fast and slow. You're going from high range to low range. My co-driver's jumping out and winching. We're just beating ourselves up through this stuff because it's so difficult on the drivetrain, and you as a driver, like you have to just go out there and just take a beating to be able to finish it. And I think that challenge is what's made the sport grow because people want to finish the race. And like I said earlier, it's only got a 20% finishing rate. That means 80% of the people that say, I'm gonna come here and I'm gonna win this race or I'm gonna finish this race, they don't make it. And every year we have fields of a couple hundred people trying to finish the race, and there's like 20 guys, 30 guys that make it. It's crazy. One of the neatest parts about the Ultra 4 Series is that when they started it, they threw away the rule book and they said, you guys can build anything you want. You can just, you know, come up with any idea. We all started based it on Jeeps because we had Jeeps. We were trail wheelers. We put in, you know, solid axle Jeeps with bigger axle shafts and everything that we could get them to go through these trails. And then it started to evolve, right? Companies came out with different products, bigger suspension parts. Companies like RCV started making these axles, and Spider Tracks made these cool housings, and we built IFS cars. And we were like, hey, the trophy truck's running IFS, maybe we should try running IFS. We developed a lot of the technology to make them all-wheel drive. But there's such a neat aspect of the sport that people forget is that the car that came in second place 2 years in a row is a solid axle car. It's pretty conventional. You know, we won it the last 2 years with IFS, but this battle that rages between, you know, the different builds and the different ways to put them together is incredible. And it's one of the aspects that's so fun. But not being constrained by a rule book has brought in everyone from college students studying this in their engineering classes to some of the best fabricators out there trying to, you know, say what's going to be the best thing so we can win this race. And that part of it has really sparked a ton of innovation. I remember about 15 years ago when I was doing the rock crawling stuff, how shocks were sort of important, but not like crucial, because you know, you wanted to have something that just didn't keep it flopping around out there. When we got into the Ultra 4 Series, it became so important to build stuff that was going to be able to handle the toughest terrain out there. And so, you know, I partnered with Fox on this thing almost 14 years ago, and we've been driving technology for this ever since. The car's incredible. I mean, these 3.5-inch bypasses and the 2.5-inch coilovers that are all around it, they're just like, you know, bump eating machines, and they're designed now to help us in the rocks. And I think it's cool that everything that we've got going on these has started to trickle back down to the Jeep market. And now the Jeep equipment's getting better because you can go out on the trail and actually get low speed compression dampening. And so it's like this technology that we're building at the top has filtered all the way down to the stuff that's going on the trail vehicles. You know, the suspension on this car is so good. It's so much fun because you can go out there and tune on it and adjust it. And that's what we've been doing so much of. Like when we're out here practicing like we are now, you know, we're working on making it better every single day. And there's a ton of adjustability built into this stuff. So, you know, whether it's how you make it perfect in the rocks or how you make it perfect in the desert or what you can do to combine both of them, you're constantly changing it. And the conditions are always changing. The car's changing, you know, we're making different things happen. And so when we built this car, we wanted to do one thing, and that was to try to get as much suspension travel as we could, but still have that bottoming resistance that we needed in the rock trails. And so, you know, this car has a ton of innovation in it and a lot of design and effort on it. But one thing that's incredible is how smooth it rides out there. It is such a joy to drive, and it's like crazy because the train's coming at you about as fast as you can read it, and you're just soaking it all up. So it's pretty amazing to drive. Cool, so guys, I'm just gonna show you a little bit about the rear suspension. It's a pretty traditional 4-link with a trailing arm, but it's got a 3.5-inch bypass on it. Huge adjustable, you know, rebound tubes and compression tubes, 3 of them on the front side. There's a bump zone up here. Gold valve lets it float in the middle, and you got tons of rebound control. So that thing does a lot of the work, but there's actually a DSC valve on the coilover, and that controls the low speed oil flow. So the shock control that you have on this thing is just incredible. It's also got some 2.0 bumps in the back, so on the bigger hits and stuff, you've got some bottoming resistance. But you know, all that stuff and that technology that's in there has started to trickle down, because now on my personal Jeep, I've got DSC valves, so I can go out on the trail and control that low speed flow, which is awesome. The front setup's pretty similar. It's got the same DSC valves on the coilovers, massive, you know, 3.5-inch bypasses. It doesn't have the bumps because we really, you know, we found we don't really need them on this car. It just doesn't seem to, you know, have any trouble with bottoming resistance in the front. But basically the package that we've got on this thing is about the right size so that we're not overheating it through the longest races. It's got perfect control, and all that stuff, all this technology that's built into this thing has started to trickle down into the Jeep stuff, and now the Jeeps are riding better than they've ever been, and that's kind of cool to see how that's crossed over. You know what's crazy is that there's no rules on what size tires or wheels or anything that you want to use in Ultra 4. You've got an unlimited book on that. And we chose the 40-inch BF Goodwrench KM3s on a 17-inch method wheel. 50 years plus of Baja 1000s and stuff. These guys have won more races than anybody. And, you know, it's just the best package I can think of for this. So, you know, it's important too to have a tire that you can get through the desert on at 120 miles an hour and then hit the rock trails and have that traction that you need to get up all the rocks. And so, you know, BFG's won more King of the Hammers races than any other tire, and that's definitely one of the reasons we chose it. So, you know, I get asked a lot about the drivetrain on this car, and, you know, the motor always comes up, like, what engine are you running? And we basically went with an LS7, not like some fancy one, but actually like a crate motor. And so it is a crate motor. My friend at Tilden Motorsports has a great cam package for it. We cam it and we put a dry sump on it. It makes it a little bit different with the dry sump because it's oiling a lot better than the factory engine. But besides that, it's a pretty basic motor. We were running you know, some Johnson lifters in there because they're a little bit more durable. But this thing is it's a crate motor that we've never had the cylinder heads off of, and it rips. It runs pretty good. You know, it makes factories like 505 horsepower. It's probably up to like 540 or 545, somewhere in there. It dynos out really clean, but what's great about it is that it's so smooth. At 3,000 RPMs, we can rock crawl through all the trails, and it's not building a ton of heat and doesn't have a bunch of overlap, and the motor runs so crisp that we think that that's an advantage for these long races like this. I've also got a Redline engine with an RHS tall deck block, all pro heads that makes 900, close to 900 horsepower that we race for the short course series, and it's just a different engine combo altogether. But for King of the Hammers, this thing rips. Welcome to my office. This is definitely my favorite place to be. With that said, it's pretty Spartan interior. There's not a lot going on in here. It's a very simplistic setup. You know, basically you turn the ignition on and hit the starter, and that's it. And it's been a savior because I never forget to turn fans on or have anything that, like, you know, is some complicated system you're thinking of during the race. It's just get in it and drive it. My co-driver Jason Berger sits next to me, and he hops out, you know, 4 times a race usually to winch. And he's also got the horn over here and the push to talk on those rugged intercoms and radios, so we can talk to the pits and let them know when we're coming in and how much fuel we used and all that kind of info. And it's safe too. You know, we got the nice Sparco seats in here. It's a really, you know, good feeling to be inside the car and not feel like, you know, if you crash it, you're gonna get hurt. We got the Safecraft fire extinguishers also, and the pull system where you can pull it and release the agent so that it puts out the fire in the whole car. It's a pretty nice system that way. But really, it's a simple place to be. 8 hours at a time. There's definitely no place I'd rather be on race day. Well, hey guys, thanks for checking out my car. That was fun showing it off. We're getting ready for King of the Hammers 2020, and we're gonna be posting up all kinds of pictures of all the prep we're doing, everything we're doing to practice. So follow along, Jason Scherer 76 on Insta, and we'll keep you guys posted and hope to see you at the race.